Who here was around for the ancient days of online political discussion? Who here is boomer enough, and by that I mean around 4 years ago enough, to remember the days of the anti-SJW community's more or less reign over politics on YouTube? Imagine some of you were. I was there. In fact, I was on board with it. I was a big fan of the anti-SJW YouTubers. I really enjoyed their content. And to be fair, looking back at it, I've been going back and rewatching some of those old videos, like old Shoe0nHead videos, old Chris Ray Gun videos, even old like Sargon videos and like old Andy Worski videos, and just going back to some of the old anti-SJW YouTubers that I watched back in the day that made a certain type of content back then. Obviously, Shoe and Chris Ray Gun don't do that now anymore, though I don't know about anybody else I listed, but, well, obviously Sargon does, but still. So I went back and I watched their old content, the stuff that I remembered watching when I was younger, because I was really curious to see, like, did I think that if I rewatched this content now, would I be able to argue against the points being made by the YouTubers in those videos? And I found that, you know, yes, it was very easy for me to argue against the points being put forward by, like, yeah, TJ too, yeah, I like TJ stuff. Like, it was, like, any arguments made by somebody who was, like, decidedly right-leaning, I typically found to be pretty easy to debunk from those videos. But when I went back and I watched videos from Chris Ray Gun and Shoe0nHead, well, yes, there were some, like, pretty definitive, like, you know, misses that happened. If I'm being completely honest, like, 99% of the people that like Shoe0nHead, Chris Ray Gun, and like TJ were covering back in the day, even upon recent rewatch, were all pretty fucking insane. Like the lefty SJW types they were covering, in many cases, were just objectively insane and wrong, and there was no way I could possibly defend anything that they have to say. However, you know, time's passed. The left online has gotten, I would say, a little bit more refined, you know. There's less, the left isn't just seen online as being like this group of quivering, angry, triggered, blue hair SJWs that can't make arguments or defend their positions and are completely devoid of any facts or logic or whatever, right? Like that stereotype has kind of died out a little bit more as, you know, people like me and Vosh and Destiny and Demon Mama and Shark and stuff like that have been doing what we're doing, debating, you know, conservatives and whatnot. And from 2017, late 2017 to late 2020, we saw like this resurgence in or not a resurgence, but a insurgence of left-wing content getting big on. But now, lately, I've been making the argument that we're going full circle. I've been making the argument that we are going back. We are right now, I think, in the 2014 equivalent of the cycle. I feel like that's where we are right now. The 2014 equivalent of the cycle. I genuinely believe this. I think that the internet is going to alternate between stages of the, you know, more anti-SJW types on the right being, you know, more dominant on YouTube, and, you know, more progressive types being more dominant on YouTube. And I think it's going to flow along with the election cycle as well. And part of what I think supports my theory is this that I saw on Twitter just yesterday. Look at this, chat. You see what I see? T1J posted this screenshot of a video that came out 1 month ago called Feminist-Owned Compilation Top 10 Feminists versus Logic with 660,000 views in 1 month. Big Red and that one feminist from the BuzzFeed video that came out in 2017 that was about air conditioning being sexist, by the way. The Big Red, I mean, obviously we all know where Big Red is from, but this woman is actually from a BuzzFeed video that was about, like... Okay, the video wasn't actually as shitty as like I remembered it being. The argument made in the video was essentially that in office environments, women are expected to wear things like skirts and like just more revealing clothing. Like generally women's like office wear is typically a little bit less comfortable in a cold environment than men's office wear. And so the argument being made was that like in office buildings where the temperature is turned super fucking low, women's typically assigned like work uniform or whatever, it is like not conducive to being like comfortable in that temperature. And that was the argument of the video this lady is from. But then like they just said that BuzzFeed said that feminists are saying air conditioning is sexist. But yeah, we're going back in time, guys. It's full circle. History repeats itself. Who would have thought? I was right the whole time. If we go to the guy who made this video's channel, we can see he only actually has 22.6K subs, but his videos have actually been doing pretty well, especially following that last video that went out a month ago when that one SJW Cringe compilation, especially the ones he's been uploading lately. I mean, these ones are, they're doing all right, but I mean, these are not doing too terribly bad, especially this one and the one that came up before. Do I think that feminist cringe compilations are anywhere approximating the level they were back in 2014 to 2016 yet? Absolutely, I don't think that we're at that level yet. I don't even know if we're ever going to get to that point ever again, because I don't know if like feminist destroyed videos are gonna be the future of this platform. I just don't see that working out. I don't think that's going to hold up anymore. So I think we're going to start to see whole new versions of this sort of ideology being propagated by these particular figures. You know, it's going to be very similar, but not exactly the same. It's going to be like a copy-paste of the old talking points from back during the old anti-SJW days, but different. At least different enough that people don't recognize it up front. Also, you have to consider the fact that there is a whole new generation of Zoomers who were like 9 during like the anti-SJW community days and are now getting to be like 13 or 14 or whatever, like their edgy teenage internet days. So they're like in prime territory to be radicalized by the right. We've got like a whole new, they don't know anything about the alt-right rabbit hole. They don't know anything about politics. They are just perfect, ready to be defiled by the propaganda of the right. Their minds are just ready for it. It's insane. And that's what's going to happen. It's just going to all repeat itself, and I'm actually excited for it. Anyway, I hunted down the original video. Let's go ahead and watch it. Feminists-owned compilation, Top 10 Feminists versus Logic. Hell yeah. Wow, this video is actually long. Is this just going to be like...
Let me just stop you so you don't waste a line of questioning. I'm just giving you...
I love the mansplaining. I'm enjoying it.
You're loving what?
The mansplaining that's going on.
Wait, what is this even from? What is this from, like... Okay. Do you know what my mom is very liberal. My mom is was a big Buttigieg supporter. She was like, she really didn't like Bernie, thought Bernie was a sexist, a misogynist who, and I quote, has a problem with women. But she was a big fan of Buttigieg, and then eventually Elizabeth Warren and then Biden, obviously. That was the line of Democratic primary candidates that my mom jumped to for when it came to her support. You know what my mom, to this day, says to me if I disagree with her on anything and like push at all, like in any type of like discussion or argument? Do you know what she says to me? And it makes me want to gouge my eyes out with a spoon. She says, "Quit it with your white male rage." Anytime, like or she does accuse me of mansplaining too. Anytime I try to like argue with her about something or just push back on anything she says that I either have white male rage or I'm mansplaining. And it is just... It hurts, okay? It really fucking hurts, all right? That is why I'm going to have to say I'm never, ever, ever going to defend someone who's got this level of optics going on. I'm sorry. Like, if you're in a debate, if you're in an argument or a debate right now, by the way, this video might actually end up just being me ranting about the left's bad optics. That might actually end up being all this video just ends up, adding up to. Anyway, this is just awful. If you are in a debate with somebody and someone puts forward a shitty idea or is trying to argue against a thing that you believe, and your response to them challenging your idea is, oh, I love the mansplaining, you've lost the debate in the eyes of everybody who doesn't already agree with you. I'm sorry. Everybody watching this video, like, or was watching this broadcast, publication, whatever, who didn't already agree with the feminist ideology that I assume this woman ascribes to, you would think, right? Anyone who doesn't already agree with her thinks she has already lost the debate. And I'm sure what she's about to argue right now probably is going to be, you know, some argument based in truth or something, but just the optics is awful. This is what I have a huge problem with like the recent push against being able to debate that I've been seeing in like the online lefty spaces, like this weird disdain for those that for some, like this weird disdain for people on the left who can actually defend their positions. I don't know what it is, like fucking, especially like the whole EJ thing, American Johnson and Luna Oy, like just the principle of being able to defend your positions is a problem to them. And I feel like these types of lefties are what are pushing us to, you know, completing that cycle of like online politics.
Well, just talking me through how by not answering the question, by repeating processes which are not related to the question that I've asked.
What's mansplaining, Senator?
Well, it's the slightly patronising and condescending way that you're responding to my questions.
Well, I would...
By the way, I will say mansplaining is real, okay? It is real. Like, and it is a thing that dudes do. Like they're like, okay, hold on. Hypers in chat, if you're, I'm going to specify cis woman here because the analogy works a little bit better. Hypers in chat, if you're a cis woman who plays video games. Who's, well, honestly, you don't even have to be cis, but anybody in chat who's a woman and plays video games and people like hear your voice in the game and think, oh, there's a girl in the game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Or even just like, there's a tendency for dudes who play games, if they meet a girl who plays games, to then start like grilling her on her knowledge of that medium. That is a thing that fucking happens. I've seen it, okay? I've witnessed it myself. It isn't like a non-existent phenomenon. It's a real thing. You know, and there is a tendency for that to happen. I don't think it's born out of like active like misogyny, though. I think it's sort of one of those, I think it's more of a subconscious thing for a lot of dudes, more so than like an active, malicious behavior.
I suggest, Senator, that if you're putting the word man in front of some description of what I'm doing, you're doing that which I'm sure you're very much against, is making a sexist implication about how I'm conducting my role as a man.
Well, then the easy...
Okay, either this clip is from 2015 or this guy is from 2015. Dante Asai, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I really appreciate that. You are base says libs are way too obsessed with political buzzwords. Yeah, a lot of liberals do, and like not liberal in the political sense, but liberal in the identity sense. Okay, when I say liberals in this context, I'm not referring to like liberals like American Democrats, like or like American like. I mean, yeah, most American Democrats are liberal, but like I'm referring to the wine mom sort of like buzzword, like really surface level understanding of like every political position, just all but like no substance, no form, you know? And I'm not saying this woman is one of those people, but she is giving off that energy, and God, does it not help her. Though I will say, mansplaining, is that a sexist? She's a socialist. She's in the socialist faction of the Labor Party. Dope. She's not wrong, though. She's not wrong. She is. So he's claiming that the word mansplaining, having man in it, is sexist towards men because I guess it is well, it's not a pejorative. I guess it's a negative thing that someone could do that has the word man before it. The idea of that being sexist is a little bit ridiculous. I think it's a silly word. I think it's a word that like you could distill the meaning behind that word into a much better way. But it is a real thing that happens.
Is that what you're saying, Senator?
Well, what I'm saying is that the way you've been responding to me has been patronising and condescending, and I have responded to that. So the easiest way to deal with this is not to have that way.
I can already tell what's happening here. From what I can tell of this clip, she asked him a question, and then he started trying to avoid the question by like over-explaining the topic there that he's being questioned on, And then she calls him out for like because he was kind of mansplaining a little bit, but mostly it was to derail the conversation. And then she called him out on it, and then he derailed, like pivoted once again to, okay, well now you're sexist. Also, this video is literally from 4 years ago. I cannot believe that in fucking 2022, well technically it was 2021, but very close to 2022, videos like this featuring clips from years ago are getting as much attention as they did years ago.
Responding to the questions I've asked.
Imagine the reaction, Senator, if I said you were womansplaining. You're saying that I'm mansplaining.
Well, it is a term that's used.
Is it by whom?
Well,
by
it
rude,
is a term that's used.
By rude.
Doesn't make.
He's, by the way, I want to point out that he's doing exactly the thing that like feminists accuse men of doing in like industries like this, where like she can't even get a word out because he's like interrupting her and kind of like speaking over, and like they won't give her like a moment to speak. I get that this is like a debate situation, but this isn't like an internet debate. This is like a Senate Community Affairs legislation committee types. That's what it says. Okay, that does not sound like the type of setting where you need to be going full debate, bro. Okay, these are politicians, I assume, trying to hash out some sort of compromise for, I don't know, a bill getting passed or something, right? How do people watch 27 minutes of this? Carbon Cole, you have to understand, the people that we're trying to reach with my videos, the people I'm trying to reach with my content are the people out there that see this video, recognize how cringe the optics are, but are then taken to believe that this guy is in the right, and thus feminism must be bad. I'm hoping that people stumble across my videos, see my reaction to this as a progressive, see me say, oh God, she's being really cringy, the optics are really bad, but here's what she means in a way that's a little bit more digestible. That's what I'm hoping will happen.
By rude senators, by senators who are seeking to make gender an issue. Stop being a hypocrite.
Well,
conduct yourself appropriately for this place.
I'm sorry you're so offended by the use of the word. It is a word that's used.
She did actually. That was good, actually. I'm sorry you're so offended by the use of that word. That was actually a good guy. That was a good comeback. I can actually respect the shit out of that.
I'm surprised that you're so shocked by the use of the word.
No, I'm just calling hypocrisy. Hypocrisy.
Well,
thy name is Labor. Thy name is Senator Gallagher.
All right.
Oh, I guess we're on to number 2 then.
On another issue,
thank you, babe.
What is the gender workplace hours gap?
Is this another Australian?
The agency reports a workplace gender pay gap comparing male full-time employees and female full-time employees. But male full-time employees work longer hours on average than female full-time.
Oh shit, there's Shonehead. Zan, you can just give the game away out loud, Lamau. If I was a chud and I heard you say, I hope I can trick them into becoming progressive, I'd be like, okay, peace out. No, I don't think I said I was going to trick them. I think it's more so that there's a lot of people out there that would stumble across this original video and see that clip, and their takeaway from it would be, this lady is insane, she's in the wrong, this guy's in the right, progressivism is bad. My hope is that they'd see my video and see me as a progressive recognize that she is acting in a pretty bad optics way, or any of the subjects of these videos are acting in a way that's pretty bad optics, but hopefully they'll hear me like sort of rephrase their takes or their arguments in a much less off-putting way. I don't know if it's like tricking. I'm pretty open about the fact I'm left-leaning and I want to convince people.
Employees. And
I'd
the
scare them off
agency
too
doesn't
quick.
account for this when reporting a workplace gender pay gap.
Using ABS data on
Do any anti-SJWs in chat remember the gender pay gap rant? Because okay, so there's a stat that says that women make like, what is it, like 75 cents on the dollar to men in America. And I believe the way that stat was derived was by comparing like I don't think it accounted for part-time jobs. I don't think it accounted for I don't think it was just salaried work, right? It also included like a bunch of other shit that kind of made the data a little bit muddy. Like it doesn't exactly demonstrate exactly what it said. Or at least that old stat did. I don't know if there's been like a more recent, much more backed up statistic on that particular situation. But like the response was always that like, of course women in America make less than men do. Women in America typically seek out like jobs and fields that pay less than men. I think I genuinely used to be able to recite the entire Shoe0nHead wage gap button rant. Do you still have the wage gap button, Shoe? I hope you still own it. I feel like if I sat here and tried to remember it for 5 minutes, I'm almost certain I could remember at least most of that button's audio thing. I feel like I could remember it. It was true. It's still correct. Yeah, it is correct. The argument, I guess, liberals and particularly like the SJWs of the time of like 2016 didn't know what they were arguing when they brought up that statistic. Because yes, women make 75 cents on the dollar to men, and the reason why that's an issue... Oh, thank you. Oh, wasn't the Hightail stuff? Well, thank you. The reason why it was an issue that progressives ought to call out isn't because, like they're just paying women less on purpose. Like, that's not what that statistic is meant to show. The statistic is meant to represent the fact that there's a sociological phenomenon in our society where women are pursuing jobs that pay less. And I guess if you wanted to, you could then make the argument that we should encourage women to get more into jobs that pay more, I guess, to sort of, levy that out. But I don't know. It just seems like the lefties back then didn't know what to do with that data, like with that stat. They didn't know what it meant and what they need to use it to argue for, The BuzzFeed types would only use the 77 cents argument. It was so weird. Yeah, the old BuzzFeed stuff. I really want to do just one of these days where we go back and we look at some of the old, like, 2016, 2015, 2014 political discourse and just go on, like, a memory trip. Just a trip down memory lane. I feel like it could be really fitting when we get to the next election season. They're still so bad, Lamel. I have no doubt. I highly doubt BuzzFeed has improved. Okay, I highly doubt it.
Employee earnings and hours. The gender pay gap as at May 2016 was 15 point.
By the way, I want to say this right now. If you'd told 16-year-old me that when I'm 22 years old, I'd be sitting in a chair with a microphone in front of me, reacting to feminist-owned compilations, debunking them with 224 viewers watching me live and Shoe0nHead talking in the chat, I probably would have shit myself if you told me that when I was 16 years old. So pretty insane road we've gone down, huh? Manspread. Oh my God, manspreading. Oh, we gotta look at some of that shit. We gotta look at some of those old manspreading videos. Do you guys remember the that one that Russian feminist that was throwing like bleach like bleach. It was distilled bleach, or not distilled. Distilled is concentrated, unconcentrated, like watered down bleach on men that had their legs spread on the train on like a subway or on some sort of underground. That shit was fucking wild. I wouldn't be surprised if that video was faked. If that video was a psyop, I would not be surprised. That's how fucking nuts that video is. That video is just downright indefensible.
0.7%. It is a survey of employees, that information from the ABS. It's not a census. And it's only conducted every 2 years. They only collect the data every 2 years. What we do is we annualise our figure to full-time. So we look at all part-time employees and full-time employees that may have worked part of a 12-month period, and we annualise that data to take into account part-time hours.
Welcome to capitalism.
So therefore we're converting the part-time hours to full-time, if you like.
So do you take into account the fact that on average...
It's not a very exciting feminist-owned video? Yeah, it's really not. Is there actually going to be, like, anything crazy here? It looks like it's literally all... Wait, I know who this is. Oh my God, wait. Remember? I explained the lore behind this before. Oh, this is a classic one. Okay, we're skipping ahead a little bit to a better example, okay? Because I remember this one. We're going back to 2017. Actually, Shoe0nHead, you'd remember... the BuzzFeed, it might have been BuzzFeed, the air conditioning is sexist discourse. When was that? I'm remembering 2017. I'm thinking 2017, but it could have been 2016 or 2018. 2015? Really? Was that me just watching, like, older videos then? Maybe it was. Well, okay then. I guess I misremembered.
I'm trying to work that through in my head.
To be fair, I do love it really cold in the house, and Lonnie is constantly complaining about it. So yeah, low-key air conditioning is kind of sexist, at least in this household.
Yeah, it took a while.
World Pioneer.
Okay. What is... Number 6.
There it was.
Burger
There I was
King
thinking it was just me that had a problem, but it turns out it's the air conditioning that's sexist.
I know. So many women in our office have the exact same problem. You know, we just sit there absolutely freezing at our desk.
Show-nHead, you won't believe me, but I swear to God, when I step out of the shower, I look like a boiled lobster. I take showers so hot that I come out of the shower like it's like that scene in Age of Ultron where Vision is like born and he comes out of the capsule and he's like emanating like smoke. He's like emanating smoke when he comes out of the capsule. That's what I look like when I get out of the shower. Naked and emanating ridiculous amounts of steam and very red. Very, very red. It's very bad for my skin. So yeah, that's probably not good for my skin.
Desks trying to type. You can probably tell I've got a cold right now, which I blame all on the AC. And so it's just so actually quite nice to see this research. It's just such a relief to know that there's actually proof that this is happening, that women... Wait,
I actually love this because this is called Feminist-Owned Compilation, Top 10 Feminists versus Logic, and the, the headline there is, researchers claim standard office temperature of 22 degrees Celsius is too low for most women. What is 22 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit in, like, actual real temperature, like, that matters? 71 degrees? Yeah, too cold for women. Yeah, no, 71 degrees is too cold for most women. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, I keep I keep the air conditioning in the house around 70 if I can, because anything above, like, 72 degrees in my room makes me sweat. Like, as a guy, like, listen, I don't know about you guys, but, like, dudes, at least the dudes I know and me, we run like fucking furnaces, okay? Just constant fucking body heat, and when you sit in a leather chair and you wear, like, even just, like, basic clothes, it, like, the heat gets trapped, and you just start to get massive amounts of swamp ass, and it's just miserable. So I can imagine why, like, dudes who are working in, like, any office environment want it to be cold in there. I'm basically working in an office environment right now, and I want it to be cold in here. I know that feeling. But I'm actually able to see in real life exactly what this woman is complaining about here, and exactly what this data has demonstrated, which is, yes, women are pretty uncomfortable in that temperature. Like, and on top of that, Lonnie's constantly complaining, even when I have the thermostat at 72. And you'd think, like, okay, well, she could just put on a blanket, but she's got stuff to do. She makes my thumbnails and stuff. She's got to, like, type on the computer and stuff like that. Your hands get cold and stuff like that. Like, yeah, women need it to be warmer than most men do. Same goes for trans women. Trans women are especially susceptible to the cold if they're on estrogen, at least from who I've talked to, because apparently that's a thing. Like, bone chills are a big deal, and that fucking sucks. Last time I had bone chills was when I got vaccinated, and I had, like, bone chills for a day and a half, and it was fucking awful. Oh my god. Is that real? Are there any trans women in the chat who've taken estrogen that can confirm that? Because that is just fucking awful.
And, you know, do feel the cold more than men, and that...
Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, the point being made here is a good one, but oh my god, why would you ever utter air conditioning is sexist? Why would you utter those words and just allow the right to just have that quote from you, to disregard the substance of everything you're saying? I genuinely... Look at this, guys. Okay, hold on. I'm angry now. I'm so angry because we need to go back in time. We need to go back in time. Hold on. I think I know exactly where to go to find an example of some feminist talking points back in the anti-SJW days. I think I know exactly.
Oh, surprise! It's another
I'm so sorry. If you're here, Shu, I'm so sorry. But it's for science, okay? It's for science. We're not going to be reacting to the arguments you make. We're going to be reacting to the arguments made by the video you're responding to. Because I want to point out how a lot of like the SJW types from back in these days did have like a good position, but just could not argue it. I don't respond to a video. This one is boring. Oh, wait. I want to find one where somebody's responding to a video on like manspreading or something. Like just a really a classic example. I just need someone link me a classic example we can go over. Let's see it. Hit me up, Chris.
So you might be wondering, hey Chris, why are you running around with explosives while you're also outside? That's a reasonable question, I think. Because I'm far too lazy to clean my room. Isn't that right, son of God? Good. Today we're going to be doing a video that I said I wouldn't do.
Chris Reagan, especially in this era of his content, I feel like perfectly embodied the self-deprecating, ironic, sort of like drink bleach, kill yourself, but also I want to kill myself humor that was just really popping off with the teens back in the day, including myself. It's part of what attracted me to the content, to be completely honest. Video is loud as fuck still? I'm bad at audio, okay? Chill out.
The BuzzFeed manspreading video, and the reality is, yeah, that video's been done to death.
It's funny that you say diet iDubbbz. I think Chris Reagan has unironically been making videos and has had this sort of persona and personality in his videos for longer than iDubbbz was on YouTube. Funnily enough. And funnily enough, iDubbbz is the one who was playing a character that whole time, you know? Like, at the very least, Chris Reagan, he actually, I think he responded to like, somebody accused him of faking the stutter that he has in his videos for, like, a sort of like a quirky type of delivery, you know? And people accused him of that, and he was like, no, I actually have a stutter. It's not like a thing that I'm faking for some sort of quirky character thing. I remember he responded to a claim of that one time.
Death, everybody's done it. Once Ethan and Hila do it, it's really hard for me to talk in this cold. Once H3 does it, pretty much it's mainstream. Everybody knows about it by now. There's kind of no point in doing it. But I figured, you know what? Fuck it. I mean, let's be fair, guys. 2016 was an absolute clusterfuck of a year. Like, even if you supported Trump, even if you wanted all those celebrities to die, it's like, really? This is actually happening? So I figured, why not?
You have no idea. Imagine saying this and just not knowing. Just not fucking knowing. Ah, the bliss. The bliss of not knowing 2020 would be a thing. I'm actually going to be honest with all of you guys. 2020 might have been the best year of my life. Just for me. It was like a bad year for the world, but it was really good for me. Like, I moved away from my parents. I moved it to California with my girlfriend. My YouTube channel was finally able to, like, make enough money for me to do it as a job. You know, like, I don't know, like, 2020 for me was a great year. But it just generally, for the world, it was a shit year. And way worse than 2016. 2016 was a shitty year, though. Like, election aside, like, it was, like, a shitty year. I'm trying to remember, like, all the shit that happened. Obviously, there was the net neutrality stuff. A big thing that people were worried about was net neutrality. That might have been... No. That might have been winter 2017. Yeah, Harambe, that was a pretty big hit to all of us.
Not end the year with some unity. I mean, let's face it, BuzzFeed is a tremendous laughingstock. So, I mean, you know, we can all just gather here today and just laugh at BuzzFeed. Now, I will warn you, some of the points that I'm going to make here have been made a million times anyway, but I'm going to do my best to keep things interesting, which is probably not a lot because I'm not that talented. All right, let's take it away. What's this video called? Women try manspreading for a week.
Oh, God. I'm going to hit all of you guys with the Omega Big Take, all right? Dudes most of the time, yeah, they gotta spread their legs, okay? I'm sorry. I'm saying it right now. I don't care how progressive you are. If you got a cock and balls between your legs, you're gonna have to have at least a few inches of space between your knees in order to prevent your greasy cock and balls from being crushed to death, okay? However, there are dudes that kind of like overdo it. Like, I've seen dudes in public kind of overdo it. Like, it's clear they're doing the whole, like, they're alphaing everyone down, you know, just trying to, like, their cock is facing the world. Like, I've seen that kind of stuff. And that's just more so like a fuck you asshole kind of thing, not like a epidemic of thing that men are doing and it's a problem. Like, I think the manspreading thing might have been the biggest mistake of a discourse for the left to have brought up in those days. You know what the manspreading thing is? Like, to compare to our modern day, the Omni-Man squat. True! The fucking Omni-Man squat. No, but for real, I think the current day equivalent of the manspreading discourse, I think it would have to be kink at Pride. I feel like kink at Pride is a good equivalent. Like, it's completely inconsequential. All it does is sow division between people who are progressive and makes the left look bad and give shit tons of ammo to the right to make the left either look weak or like a bunch of, I guess in the case of the Kink at Pride thing, pedophiles, but in this case, a bunch of crazy people for the manspreading thing. I feel like it's a pretty good comparison.
My balls! I don't want my balls sticking to my legs!
That's happening right now.
So let's operate in this fantasy land.
I'm adjusting my balls right now as we speak. I want to make it very clear. Yes, balls, leg, sticky. It sucks.
I'm waiting. BuzzFeed, when did you get here? I don't recall seeing a short bus. Starting to get a little windy. Starting to see some bigger snowflakes. God help me. God help me.
Manspreading is when a man spreads his physical body to take up as much space as humanly possible.
Okay, hold on. All right, this one's fine. All right, this dude is in a car, and it, like, shows his knees aren't even touching anybody. This is my rule, okay? As long as your knees aren't, like, touching anybody, you're probably good. This guy, I think, is kind of pushing it. Unless the person who's sitting right here, whoever woman, I'm assuming woman's legs these are, could be a femboy. We don't know. This could just be some smooth femboy legs. We don't know. But whoever individuals this gentleman's knee is touching, if this is just a total stranger, then this guy is maybe, you know, a little too wide. Though, to be fair, he is using his feet to, like, hold his bags in place. And if you've ever been on, like, the subway before in New York City, I have been, if you place a bag on the floor and it starts moving, it'll just start sliding. It'll just slide away from you. So you kind of have to, like, either put it under your seat or kind of use your leg to sort of keep it from sliding, you know?
Take up as much space as humanly possible.
So apparently manspreading is spreading your physical body to take up as much space as humanly possible. That's what manspreading is. This is apparently as much space as humanly possible.
Manspreading is when a man spreads his physical body to take up as much space as humanly possible.
Video's getting boring, Chris. Spice it up.
The people around you are relegated to a very small portion, but the key to manspreading is not noticing.
The key to manspreading.
Let me word this argument in, like, the argument these individuals on BuzzFeed are making in the most defensible way possible. Understandably, due to the fact that most men have a big pair of cock and balls between their legs, most men prefer to sit or lay or whatever with their legs slightly, spread apart in order to give themselves a little bit of room, a little bit of airflow, you know what I mean. But in a lot of situations, such as public transport and, public seating, and just generally like in a lot of public spaces, some men, without realizing it, can end up taking up a lot of room and, even kind of crowding, a lot of people that don't generally women, that don't want to be crowded up without even realizing it. And so we just want to like raise awareness of that. Like if you're sitting and you just notice that, you're sitting comfortably, and just look around and see if like your knee or your leg isn't like intruding into the space of someone else. Like that literally could have been the BuzzFeed video, and I don't think anybody could have argued against it. I don't think anyone could have argued against it if that was the argument they made, but they didn't, because the left back then was incapable of making good arguments, at least online, for some fucking reason. Excusing a few, exceptions, of course. And I'm really worried about the online left going back in that direction.
Manspreading is not noticing. That was a non-sentence, if you didn't guess. She said absolutely nothing with those words. Snow's picking up here, guys.
We grow up on two different tracks. People who manspread just are socialized not to worry about it. I have so many vivid memories.
It's not socialization, I don't think, unless you consider socialization to be the fact that, like, nobody ever ends up calling it out in our society, like, as a thing that's, like, a problem outside of, like, BuzzFeed videos. But I think it's more so, like, at least when I find myself to be manspreading, it is completely just, oh, I'm sitting somewhere. I want to sit comfortably. There we go. Yeah, that's basically it. That is the thought process. It's not like you're taught not to care or anything. It's just like, maybe you're just, you're just doing what's sitting comfortably, and you might not realize that you're intruding on someone else's space.
Memories as a child of my mom telling me to close my legs.
With gender, we're constantly working towards trying to get to this middle.
This week of manspreading is definitely going to make me feel anxious. As much as a super strong feminist, I want to say it won't.
So as a strong feminist, you were under the impression that sitting with your legs slightly further apart than they usually are would have made you feel absolutely anxious, just destroyed on the inside. I think you might want to look up the definition of strong, because I feel like that was a little bit of the opposite.
Yeah, there's no defending what they said there. That was just silly.
That's my first train trip as a manspreader. I just feel like a monster already.
That's a really poor choice of words given the subject matter. I wouldn't use those words.
How can you do this every day without being conscious of it?
What? How do you breathe every day without being conscious of it? You realize that your stomach is digesting the last meal you ate right now, and you don't even realize it, right? You realize that, like, your posture, you're probably not actively controlling your posture right now. Your posture is whatever is most comfortable to you. I bet a lot of you just, like, realized you were hunched over, you had bad posture, and sat up. I guarantee a few of you did. Yeah, you are now manually breathing. It's a involuntary thing, I think.
Look at how non-discreet that is.
I mean, that's pretty standard. That's about where I'd have my legs if I was sitting on like a train. I would be sitting up more. Like this person's like this individual is exaggerating the fuck out of it a little bit. Like the being like lower in the chair and they're filming at the same time, like, that is pretty indiscreet. But like, as far as the leg separation, there would be less like area taken up by the legs if they just scooted back a little bit and sat up straight. Like that'll mean like more leg will be sitting in the chair than extending out into the aisle and into people's space. Like, this is about as wide as my legs would be.
I think whenever a woman takes up space, she's considered bossy, she's considered aggressive. There are a lot of stereotypes surrounding black women and whether or not we're angry or we're dominant. And so maybe a lot of the reasons why I do minimalize my presence is because I don't want to be perceived.
Okay. You're going to get some looks because you're spreading your legs and you're wearing a dress, okay? You're going to get some looks for that, okay? Just for that alone, all right? That's a little bit. She looks like a boss, though, not gonna lie. This is the energy that I want to bring into 2022. A plate of, what is that, like chicken fajitas or something? And just my legs just absolutely dominating the personal space of everybody else, leaning back and just saying fuck you to the world. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I think that during this period, Shoe0nHead, Chris Raygun, Second Clancy. Who else like in that sphere was like pretty liberal but still made like or pretty left leaning but still made like anti-SJW content? Obviously like TJ H3 even he did that. Yeah. I think they, even though the content they made, they probably look back at it, cringe a little bit, maybe think it didn't hold up as well as maybe they could. Maybe if they could redo some of those videos, they'd make some different arguments. But at the end of the day, I actually think that this type of content probably did a lot more good than it did bad. If you guys don't believe me, I'll explain. At that time, the only like competent left-wing online debate or content creators that I can think of that had much of an audience would mostly be like Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar. And Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar, you know, yeah, TYT obviously, yeah, and that follows as well. But like TYT, Sam Cedar, and Kyle Kulinski don't exactly have the same type of appeal, especially not to the same audience as like Chris Raygun, Shoe, TJ, etc. had, right? So if you were watching anti-SJW videos in that time period, which if you were watching political content, you were probably watching anti-SJW videos. Frankly, I'm glad that a lot of people were watching Chris Raygun, Shoe0nHead, TJ, and like Repsion and like H3 rather than like Sargon and stuff like that. Like in hindsight, I actually think this content is far more defensible because granted, a lot of the videos that were being covered are ridiculous and probably were deserving of some calling out. But I also think that there being knowledge that these YouTubers were at least, you know, like left-leaning and criticizing bad actors in the left, I think that probably lent progressivism in that space a little bit more patience from people than you'd think, right? If every YouTuber in that space was conservative, then obviously, you know, everybody watching that content would end up becoming conservative. But that didn't happen, obviously. It was a funnel to Sargon, though. Yeah, and I mean, that's how it was for me. But I'm speaking purely on the merits of Shoe0nHead and Chris Raygun's content. Shoe and Chris could not have known that, like, for one, that Sargon was, like, a white nationalist, or that their content was, like, acting as, like, a way through which people would be just like introduced to more radical right-wing political figures. Like, you couldn't have known that at the time. It's very easy to see in hindsight, but even I, as someone who went through that rabbit hole, didn't notice it at the time. For me, it felt like I was discovering a whole new sort of like slice of reality that was sort of hidden from me by the establishment that is like, you know, liberal, feminist, Democrat, whatever, right? Like my mom, right? Like my mom's political opinions, which is what really pissed me off at that time. It just felt like my eyes were being opened to a whole new like vein of like reality in the political discourse scene. And it actually made politics interesting, believe it or not, like this type of presentation. Xander Hall, I saw a video of how it only took 2 hours for the TikTok algorithm to go from transphobia to alt-right talking points. It was insane. Yeah, Finestro, right now it seems like TikTok is the best place to grow, and like if you're trying to grow on the algorithm, TikTok's the best place to do it. Mother's radicalizing sons since 2006. Even earlier than that. Even earlier than that. The main problem was that those SJW/feminists in 2016 kind of were the left, or at least they were perceived to be. Yeah, that's my point, right? That the left online was perceived to be the SJWs, the BuzzFeed, all that shit. Like, most people probably wouldn't have even assumed that Chris Raygun and Shoe0nHead and TJ and all of them were left-leaning because they didn't act like the people in the videos they were covering. A lot of people were surprised, including myself, to find out. Like, I remember just assuming Chris Raygun was like a conservative, and then he said he was like a liberal that voted for Bernie, and I was like, wait, really? Ah, okay. I was surprised. They did Milo Stewart dirty? Yeah. Yeah, that was a little sus. Anyway, though, if you enjoyed the video, I feel like that was a trip through memory lane. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like on the video, comment down below, subscribe, ring the bell icon, turn on all notifications for the channel so YouTube actually tells you when I upload a new video or go live. And of course, feel free to follow all my social media linked right down below, including my Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course my fan Discord where I do watch parties with my fans, and even sometimes we play games together and just kind of generally hang out. It's a great community. It's free to join, so go ahead and hit the link and hop right on in. It's awesome. Just hop in there. I think we're close to like, how many members do we have in the Discord now? How many do we have? 5,410 members. God damn. Hell yeah. Let's get up to 5,500 by the end of the month, huh? 5,500 by the end of the month. That would be fucking pog. So go ahead and join the fan Discord. It's a great community. Anyway, if you want to support me financially, you can donate, subscribe, gift a sub, or even super chat over on my website or over on YouTube. You can also gift a sub or subscribe to my website, or pledge me on Patreon, or donate through Streamlabs. With all that said, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.